All right, welcome to another deep dive. You ready to jump in?
Always.
Awesome. Today we're going to be talking about something you might not expect, hospital signs.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah, we're going to be looking at why hospitals can feel like mazes and how good signage can actually make a real difference in your healthcare experience.
It's true. You probably don't even think about signs until you desperately need to find like the exit or your doctor's
Yeah,
office.
it's like, where am I and how do I get out of here?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's where this research article comes in. It uses the National Taiwan University Hospital's West Campus as like a case study
Okay.
to see how effective design can actually be.
Interesting. And tell me a little bit more about the hospital. Like, what's so special about it?
Yeah, so this is actually their oldest building,
Okay.
and it's known for its beautiful historic architecture,
Nice.
but it's got a really confusing layout.
Oh, that's interesting. So
Yeah.
they took the oldest, most confusing building.
Yeah, I mean, picture this, right? You're in this like grand old building. You're already maybe a little overwhelmed being at the hospital,
Right.
and then you can't even find your way around.
I mean, that's adding stress to an already stressful situation.
Totally. And that's exactly like what the researchers wanted to look into. They wanted to know if they could make navigating this historic hospital easier
Okay.
without you know, doing any like major structural changes.
hmm
And this is where I think it gets really cool.
Okay. Lay it on me.
They actually built a virtual model of the hospital,
Oh, wow.
and then they tested different sign designs in this virtual world.
It's like a video game for science.
Yeah, it is. And so it allowed them to see how people navigated the space with different signs, but without actually disrupting the actual hospital.
Oh, that's super smart. Think about like the cost
Yeah.
and all the construction and the hassle of like redoing signs in a real hospital.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
They basically made a wayfinding laboratory.
I love that.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Did it work?
Well, let's just say the results were pretty eye-opening.
Oh,
Yeah. So first of all, it confirmed what we all suspect, I think.
okay.
Getting lost in a hospital is incredibly frustrating.
It is.
It can lead to, just confusion, anger, stress,
Mhm.
even headaches and fatigue.
Wow. I never really considered the physical toll of getting lost.
Yeah.
But it makes sense.
Yeah.
Your blood pressure is probably going up. Probably getting a headache if you're running around and can't find where you need to go.
Yeah. You're like, ah.
And it's not just patients who suffer.
Right.
I mean, the study also highlights how hospital staff are constantly getting stopped and asked for directions,
Ugh, I bet.
which is taking time away from patient care. It's like a
It
lose-lose.
really is, yeah. So how did the researchers actually test the different signs in this virtual hospital?
Well, they had two groups of participants. One group had to navigate the hospital using the original signs, and the other group used a redesigned system. And they tracked things like how long it took them to find certain locations
Mhm.
and how often they were having to look at signs.
It's like a wayfinding obstacle course. I love it.
So what kind of problems did they find with the original signs?
I mean, we've all probably experienced this. Information overload.
Yeah.
The signs were just crammed with too much text. The categories were confusing. Arrows were inconsistent. It's like trying to read a blurry map while running a marathon.
Yeah, like no wonder people get lost. Can you give us some like specific examples?
Yeah. So, for example, the dermatology clinic. Imagine trying to find it, and the signs are everywhere, but they all have different bits of information on them, and none of it makes sense. It was just a nightmare.
Oh my gosh.
And then they also found problems with the exit signs.
You'd think those would be like crystal clear.
You would think,
Yeah.
right? And that just really shows how important clear and intuitive signage is.
Especially in a place like a hospital where people might be, in a hurry or stressed out.
For sure. So how did they improve the signs in the redesign?
Well, no capes involved, but
Okay.
they did employ some smart design principles.
Okay. I like it.
They focused on like simplifying information, making it easier to find.
Mm-hmm.
They did things like grouping services by type,
Okay.
like outpatient, labs, whatever,
Okay.
and using a really clear visual hierarchy. So like the important stuff's at the top.
Ah, got it.
Its smaller details are below. So they decluttered and made it more user-friendly.
Yeah. Very nice. Very nice. What else?
Oh, and this might surprise you. They found that hanging signs, the ones that dangle from the ceiling,
Yeah.
way easier to spot than wall signs.
That's interesting. I do tend to look up when I'm in a big building.
It's like, our brains are wired to notice things that stand out.
Right.
So if the sign's hanging down, it's going to stand out against like a plain ceiling.
Yeah, yeah. So is that all, like, what else? What else did they find out about this? Like human behavior and wayfinding. Okay, spill the tea. What else? What other wayfinding secrets did they uncover?
So get this. They found that people who have experience playing 3D video games
Uh-huh.
might actually be better at navigating virtual spaces.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
Are you telling me all my countless hours, like, wasted in virtual worlds actually could be useful in real life?
it's possible.
Yeah.
That's a fascinating possibility. Think about it. When you're playing a 3D video game, you're constantly navigating uh, complex environments. If you remember, landmarks make spatial judgment. It's like wayfinding boot camp.
That's so cool. I never thought of it that way. Maybe I should put, like, expert level gamer on my resume.
Right.
But okay, so back to the hospital study.
hmm
Did these redesigned signs like actually improve people's experience?
Oh, absolutely. The results were very significant. Participants using the redesigned system were not only faster at finding their destinations,
Eh.
but they also said they felt like less anxious, less frustrated.
Wow.
Good signage actually reduced their stress levels.
That's amazing. So not only did they get where they needed to go quicker, but they felt better doing it.
Exactly. A win-win. And it highlights something really important. Wayfinding is about more than just like efficiency, you know?
Yeah.
It's about creating a positive emotional experience.
It makes me think about, when you are lost in a hospital. It can
Mm.
be so disorienting, so stressful.
Absolutely.
You're already dealing with, your health concerns or, whatever brought you there.
You've got other things on your mind.
Yeah, and then on top of it, you can't even find your way around. I mean, that's enough to, like, make anyone's blood pressure spike.
Totally. And the study actually found that people who were using the original signs actually showed signs of increased stress and anxiety.
Oh, wow.
Things like elevated heart rate,
Wow.
blood pressure.
So, like, it's literally like a physical impact
Yeah.
on our bodies. It's not just, like, in our heads.
No, it's a real thing.
Wow.
So it makes you wonder, could good wayfinding design actually improve, health outcomes?
It's something to think about. I'm starting to think that wayfinding designers, they deserve a Nobel Prize.
Right.
This is amazing. But okay, let's get back to, like, the specifics of this redesign.
Right.
You mentioned, clear groupings, visual hierarchy, the hanging signs.
Mhm.
What else did they do?
Well, they also introduced what are called corridor codes,
Okay.
which is basically like giving each hallway its own unique identifier.
So it's like an address for each hallway.
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool.
Takes the guesswork out of, navigating these long corridors that all look the same.
Yeah, and I remember how you mentioned, like, how people were, like, guessing where things were based on their assumptions of, like, how departments should be related.
Right.
This would eliminate that completely.
Totally.
You don't have to guess, you just, like, follow the code.
Exactly. Just follow the numbers. Yeah.
Brilliant.
They also experimented with adding color coding to the signs.
Ooh, color. Okay, so did that help? Was that, like, a good thing?
That's interesting. So it didn't make a huge difference, like in terms of speed,
Okay.
but most people still said they preferred the color-coded signs.
Interesting.
They said they found them easier to read,
Okay.
less overwhelming.
Hmm.
It seemed like there was like a psychological component there.
That makes sense, even if the information's, like, the same, you
Yeah.
know? Color can make things feel more organized and maybe, like, more approachable, I guess.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know, the difference between reading a dense textbook and looking at, like, a colorful infographic, you know?
exactly.
You're probably going to, like, engage more with the infographic, even if it's conveying the same information.
Yeah, and that's what's so fascinating about wayfinding design. It's not just about like the practical side of it, getting from A to B.
Right.
It's about understanding like how people perceive and interact with information
Yeah.
in their environment.
I like that. Speaking of, like, perceiving and interacting, there's one thing that keeps kind of coming up in my mind.
Yeah.
The study focused a lot on, like, the visuals of the signs, but what about accessibility for people with disabilities?
That's a great point. And unfortunately, the study doesn't really address that as deeply as it could.
Okay.
It really focuses on like visual clarity, but it doesn't talk about things like tactile signage for
Yeah.
people with visual impairments or, solutions for people with cognitive disabilities.
Yeah, that's a pretty big oversight because, I mean, accessibility should really be, like, a fundamental consideration
Totally agree.
in any design, but especially in, a healthcare setting.
For sure. And we need to move beyond just thinking about like how to make the signs clear and easy to understand for like the average person. We've got to think about the needs of everyone.
Absolutely, yeah. So I guess if we were to give this hospital like a wayfinding report card,
Yeah.
they get an A for effort on the redesign, but maybe like a C for inclusivity.
Yeah, I think that's fair. They made some big improvements, but there's always room to grow,
Yeah,
especially when it comes to making spaces truly accessible for everyone.
for sure. This whole conversation has really got me thinking, what if we applied these principles, these like good wayfinding design principles
Hmm.
beyond hospitals? Like, what if we could use them everywhere?
I mean, why stop there? You're thinking big, and you're right. I mean, these principles could apply to any space where people need to find their way.
Right.
Schools, airports, museums, shopping malls, even
Yeah.
online environments.
Imagine if we could make like the internet easier to navigate.
Oh my gosh, yes.
No more endless scrolling or like clicking through these confusing menus.
That would be truly a game changer.
Yeah, I think so. And it all starts with understanding, the psychology of wayfinding. Like,
Right.
how do people perceive information? How do they make decisions?
Hmm.
What makes them feel comfortable and confident in a given space?
Yeah, it's not just about signs and arrows. It's about creating like this seamless, intuitive experience
Yeah.
that just guides people effortlessly towards their goal.
I like that. So it's not just about like efficiency or whatever. It's
Mhm.
about making people feel good and like creating spaces that really support like human well-being on a deeper level.
Exactly, yeah.
It makes you wonder what other aspects of daily life could be improved with like, good, thoughtful wayfinding design.
It's an intriguing question.
Yeah.
It's one we might just have to explore on a future deep dive.
Ooh, I like that.
But for now, I think we should shift gears just a little bit.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
You were talking earlier about how stressful it can be to feel lost in a hospital.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important to like delve into that emotional side of wayfinding a little deeper.
Okay.
What's really going on there.
Okay, yeah. So we talked about the, like the frustration of getting lost, but
Yeah.
I'm curious about like the deeper emotional like impact of wayfinding. Is there more to it than just feeling like annoyed?
Oh, for sure, for sure. There's a whole field of study. It's called environmental psychology, and it really looks at how our surroundings can impact our emotions
Okay.
and our behavior.
Interesting. Okay, tell me more about this.
Also, think about like the hospital setting, right?
Mm-hmm.
People are already, they're in a heightened emotional state, right? They
Yeah.
might be worried about their health,
Mm.
anxious about test results, or even grieving the loss of a loved one.
Yeah.
It's a lot to process.
It's true. Hospitals are inherently like emotionally charged
Yeah,
places.
big time. And so if you add the stress of getting lost, on top of all of that,
Right.
it can really like amplify those negative emotions.
Yeah.
It's like adding fuel to the fire.
Yeah, totally. Totally. So it's not just about like feeling lost physically. It's about feeling lost like emotionally.
100%, yeah. And that's why good wayfinding design is so important in these settings.
Yeah.
It's not just about getting people to where they need to go,
Right.
in a quick and efficient manner.
Right.
It's really about creating an environment that supports their emotional well-being.
Yeah, that makes total sense because if you can like minimize that stress and confusion, it frees up space, for people to focus on
Sure.
like, what really matters, which is like healing and recovering.
Right. It's about creating that sense of calm and a sense of control,
Mhm.
in a situation that often feels very chaotic
Yeah.
and overwhelming.
Right, yeah, yeah. So in a way, like good wayfinding design can actually be like a form of care.
I love that. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
It's about recognizing that the environment itself can actually play a role in the healing process.
Totally, totally. This is making me rethink like my whole perspective on signs and arrows. It's
Yeah.
not just like, aesthetics or efficiency. It's really about creating spaces that like support, human well-being on a deeper level.
Absolutely. And the best wayfinding systems honestly are the ones you don't even notice.
Right.
They work so seamlessly
Right.
that you kind of just glide through the space
Right.
effortlessly.
Feel like they become like this invisible hand like gently guiding you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the goal, right? Is to create that sense of ease and flow even in these complex, environments.
Yeah. I love that. This whole deep dive has been, I mean, it's been really eye-opening.
Hmm.
I'm starting to see like wayfinding design everywhere now,
Yeah.
not just in hospitals, but in like, stores, museums, airports, even like my own house.
All around
It
us.
really is.
Yeah.
So as we kind of like wrap up this conversation, what's like the one key takeaway that you want listeners to remember?
I think that the biggest takeaway is, wayfinding's about so much more than just signs and arrows.
Mm-hmm.
It's about really understanding human behavior and creating environments that are intuitive, supportive, and ultimately like human-centered.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And I would also add, like, don't be afraid to speak up if you encounter like bad wayfinding design.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Whether it's, at the hospital, your favorite museum,
Hmm.
or even online.
For sure.
Like your feedback can actually make a difference.
Absolutely. Yeah. We all have the power to advocate for better design.
Totally. Well, I think on that note, it is time to wrap up this deep dive.
Awesome.
We explored the science, the psychology, even the art of wayfinding.
It's been a journey.
I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pretty inspired to pay more attention to, all the signs and signals that guide us through our daily lives.
It's been a fascinating conversation.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us on this exploration. Until next time, happy navigating.